Let's walk on the wise path.
Stop whatever you're doing for a moment, because what I'm about to share will flip your entire perspective on high frequency and why chasing feel-good vibes around the clock might actually be a trap. Yes, you heard me right. There's a hidden secret in the spiritual world that most gurus won't tell you, and it could be the one thing keeping you stuck. If you've been obsessively trying to maintain a glowing, blissful state 24/7, only to find yourself more frustrated, anxious, or just plain exhausted, listen up. By the end of this video, you'll see why feeling good all day, every day is not only impossible, but also counterproductive to real spiritual growth. Have you noticed how everyone on social media brags about their endless positivity? Like they wake up smiling, do their morning yoga under a halo of sunshine, and never encounter any drama? They collect crystals, chant affirmations, and insist they're on some permanently high vibe. But here's a question for you. Have you ever truly met someone who never feels negative emotions? I'm guessing no. And yet, this image of never-ending positivity is plastered everywhere, making you think you must be failing if you ever feel sad, scared, or ticked off. Let's bust that myth wide open, shall we? Why the pursuit of constant positivity is misleading. Before we go deeper, let's talk about what high frequency actually means. A lot of people confuse it with being happy all the time. But that's like saying the only way to enjoy music is to listen to the exact same melody on repeat. We both know that would get old really fast. The truth is, frequency is more about the energy you consistently broadcast your baseline vibe rather than a fleeting emotion you have at breakfast. Think of it like a radio station. Just because you get static one afternoon doesn't mean the station itself is gone forever. In the same way, if you're generally a hopeful, open-hearted person, a bad day or a rough morning doesn't magically zap your spiritual frequency to zero. The waves might be a bit choppy, but the underlying signal is still there. So why do so many people push this idea that you need to be perpetually smiling? Because it's marketable. It's easier to sell a feel-good all-the-time mantra than to admit spirituality includes storms along with the sunshine. But here's the kicker. The universe responds to the genuine frequency you embody, not the forced grin you slap on your face. Authenticity has power. Pretense does not. Everything is in motion, including you. Now, if you're rolling your eyes and thinking this is all just woo-woo nonsense, hang tight because science backs this up. Everything around you, every cell in your body, every object you see is constantly vibrating. There's no such thing as complete stillness. We're all swirling in an ocean of energetic motion. But here's where most people get lost. They assume high frequency equals always cheerful. Not quite. Your core frequency has more to do with the patterns of thought and belief you revisit day after day than whether you laughed or cried this morning. In other words, it's like a long-term weather forecast rather than the chance of rain on a random Tuesday. You can feel angry in one moment, yet still hold onto an overall vibe of self-respect, gratitude, or trust in the bigger picture. Conversely, you can smile all day while secretly replaying thoughts of scarcity or self-doubt in your head. One is real alignment, the other is just an Instagram filter. The myth of permanent highs. Our universe runs on cycles day and night, the tides, the seasons. Everything ebbs and flows. So it makes zero sense to assume we can freeze ourselves at a peak emotional state 24/7. Trying to do that is like demanding your favorite tree to stay in full bloom year-round. It's not natural, and it leads to frustration when the leaves start to fall. That's the law of rhythm in action. Life has its ups and downs. It's the cosmic dance. If you refuse to accept those dips, you end up fighting an unwinnable battle. Think about the seasons. If you spend the entire winter cursing the cold and longing for endless summer, you miss the unique gifts that winter actually brings: cozy nights, quiet reflection, the stillness that fosters renewal. The same is true for your emotional landscape. Feelings like sadness or anger aren't bad. They're natural indicators that something in your life needs attention. If you constantly fight or suppress them, they just grow bigger in the dark. But when you allow them some room to breathe, like letting a storm pass over, you return to clarity much more quickly. Why resistance causes real suffering? We often blame negative emotions for our suffering. If only I didn't feel this way, I'd be fine. But the real torment often comes from resisting these emotions. Picture a river that's trying to flow smoothly. If you build a dam because you don't like the direction the water is going, you create a turbulent buildup behind it. That turbulence is resistance. It's the same with your emotions. Buddhism has been teaching this for ages. The root of suffering is attachment, wanting things to be different from what they are. We cling to what makes us happy and push away what causes us discomfort. But ironically, the act of clinging or pushing is what solidifies those emotions. By gripping happiness too tightly, we become paranoid about losing it. By hating sadness, we force it to hide in our subconscious, where it festers into something even darker. If you allow sadness to just exist, it tends to pass like a gray cloud in the sky. But resist it, and you'll feel stuck in a perpetual storm. It's not the emotion itself that prolongs your suffering. It's your refusal to let it move on. The ego's sneaky spiritual costume. A big reason we get stuck in the happy all the time trap is our good old friend, the ego. It's sneaky. Once you start dabbling in spiritual teachings, your ego will adapt. It knows it can't hook you with obvious negativity anymore, so it dresses itself in robes of love and light. This is how you end up with toxic positivity, where you stamp a positive vibes only sign on everything and pretend darkness doesn't exist. But darkness does exist. Even spiritual masters like Jesus, Buddha, and so many others faced despair, fear, and temptation. Their spiritual breakthroughs didn't come from dodging these emotions. They came from walking straight through them. Imagine if you tried to skip winter altogether. That might sound nice, but nature needs the rest and renewal that winter provides. In the same way, your soul needs those periods of introspection and challenge to grow stronger. You can't outrun reality. Let's illustrate this with a quick story. There was once a wise traveler who proudly claimed he had conquered fear. He boasted he could handle anything that came his way with unwavering positivity. One day, a raging storm began to flood the village he was visiting. Instead of preparing or seeking shelter, he just sat there repeating to himself, "I'm immune to all storms. I'm immune to all storms," as the waters rose higher and higher. Before long, he was swept away by the flood. The moral? If you pretend negativity doesn't exist, life has a way of giving you a wake-up call. The key isn't to avoid storms altogether. It's to acknowledge them, brace yourself if needed, and trust that you have what it takes to weather them. By respecting reality, you master it. By denying it, you drown. What high frequency really looks like. So if high frequency isn't about beaming positivity 24/7, what is it? It's awareness. It's the capacity to stand in the chaos without losing yourself. High frequency is that inner knowing that you're supported by something greater than your current circumstances, be it God, the universe, or the life force coursing through every atom. In more practical terms, a high-frequency person can be sad, angry, or frustrated, but they don't spiral into panic or self-loathing when these feelings surface. They observe the emotion, learn from it, and let it pass. Think of it like a sturdy oak tree in the wind. The branches might sway wildly during a storm, but the trunk remains unshaken. Jesus spoke of the kingdom of God as something within you, not some external paradise you have to earn by smiling nonstop. Buddha, likewise, taught the middle path, rejecting extreme indulgence or extreme avoidance. Both recognized that real peace comes from balance, not from suffocating half of your emotional spectrum. The underlying layers of your frequency. To shift your baseline frequency, you've got to look under the hood. Because your vibe isn't just a matter of a passing grin, it's built on layers of beliefs, recurring thoughts, and self-identity. Let's break it down. Beliefs. These are the invisible lenses through which you view life. If you believe you're unworthy, that's like wearing tinted glasses no matter how bright it is. You'll see everything shaded in darkness. Emotionally charged thoughts. A random worry might not stick around long enough to define you. But if you constantly stew in a thought, like I never do anything right, and it stirs up guilt or shame that seeps into your overall frequency. Focus. Are you laser focused on your problems, or do you actively look for solutions and possibilities? Energy flows where attention goes. If you focus on possibilities, your experiences start to mirror that. Self-image. The identity you adopt is massive. If you see yourself as the lucky one, or the person who always bounces back, your behavior and experiences will reflect that. If you label yourself as a perpetual victim, your world will hand you more victim scenarios. Conviction. This is where real magic happens. If you believe something so deeply that doubt has no room, you vibrate at a level that makes manifestation almost inevitable. It's like being absolutely certain the sun will rise tomorrow. When you change these layers step by step, you elevate your genuine frequency. Notice, none of these layers require you to be eternally happy. They simply need your consistent, authentic alignment. Embracing the pendulum's center. Life is like a pendulum. It naturally swings from highs to lows. When you cling to a high or panic about a low, you end up trapped on that swing, never finding stillness. The only way to make peace with this motion is to learn how to stay in the middle. That doesn't mean you never feel joy or sorrow again. It means you don't let either one control you. The Buddha called this the middle way for a reason. Take too hard a left, you're in denial of life's challenges. Take too hard a right, you're drowning in them. Balance is where you watch the pendulum. Appreciate its arc, but don't get whipped around by it. Sounds simple, but it takes practice. One of the best ways to anchor yourself in the center is through mindfulness. You notice your thoughts without labeling them good or bad. You allow sadness to exist without concluding, I'm a failure. You let excitement wash over you without deciding, I have to feel like this forever or my life is worthless. It's about witnessing what is rather than fighting against it. Quick exercise to recenter. Let's do a short exercise. Close your eyes after this video, obviously, and take a slow, steady breath. Observe whatever thoughts pop into your head. Maybe you're thinking about your to-do list or that awkward text you sent. Instead of arguing with these thoughts, just notice them. They're like clouds drifting across the sky or waves rolling onto the shore. Let them come, let them go. Next, tune into your emotions. Maybe you feel anxious. Maybe you're excited for something. Let it be. Don't slap a label on it. Don't force it away. Acknowledge its presence like you'd acknowledge a passing stranger. And then, like that stranger, watch as it continues on its path. With consistent practice, you'll realize you're not the sum of your thoughts and feelings. You're the observer, the awareness behind it all. That's where true high frequency lives, in the peaceful you that recognizes each emotion as a visitor, not a permanent resident. Challenges are growth opportunities. But let's get real. You will face challenges. Everyone does, even the most enlightened souls. It's how you respond to them that evolves. You start seeing setbacks not as the universe punishing you, but as life guiding you toward lessons you might have overlooked. There's a reason spiritual texts are full of stories where masters endure pain, temptations, and heartache. It's through the darkest nights that we discover our brightest insights. Think about a seed buried in the cold, dark dirt. It has to push through layers of soil before it reaches the sun. Without that darkness, it would never germinate or grow strong roots. So, the next time you find yourself in a slump or facing a crisis, shift your perspective. Instead of saying, "Why me?" try, "What is this teaching me?" This doesn't mean you have to like the situation. It just means you're open to the hidden wisdom inside it, putting it all into practice. So how do you actually live this truth? First, Ditch the pressure to feel good 24/7. It's an impossible standard that sets you up for failure. Accept that you're human, and being human means experiencing the full emotional rainbow. Yes, even those shades of gray and black. Second, commit to regular self-reflection. Journal about your beliefs, question them, see which ones you can upgrade. Notice which thoughts and emotions are on repeat in your day. Are they serving you or draining you? Third, practice gratitude, but not in a forced, I must be grateful now sort of way. Look for genuine moments of thanks, even something as small as a good cup of coffee or a kind gesture from a stranger. This shifts your default setting without demanding fake smiles all day. Lastly, remember that the greatest gift you can give yourself is patience. Real transformation doesn't happen overnight. Your spiritual evolution is like a lifelong hike, where each step matters more than the final destination. Every time you stumble, you learn. Every time you pause to breathe, you renew your energy, rewriting your own story. Think about where you are right now. Maybe you're in a job you can't stand, or a relationship that's testing you, or you're grappling with anxiety that won't quit. These are all chapters in your life story. The question is, will you let these chapters define you, or will you use them as launching pads for growth? Shifting your frequency is less about slapping on a positive vibes only sticker and more about gradually transforming your internal narrative. It's about recognizing, yes, I feel terrified right now, and still choosing to take action that aligns with trust, courage, or self-worth. That's high frequency in action, moving forward even when part of you wants to hide. No one who truly walks a spiritual path claims they're immune to life's storms. Instead, they learn to dance in the rain, understanding that every storm passes. And when it does, the air is fresher, the soil is nourished, and new life can blossom. Your next step. Now that you know feeling good 24/7 is a myth, what will you do differently? Will you keep chasing an impossible standard of eternal happiness? Or will you embrace the full spectrum of your human experience? If you're ready to invite true balance, not just the Instagram version of it, then this is your sign to move forward. Start small. Start with awareness. Notice how often you judge yourself for feeling negative. Catch those moments and remind yourself, it's okay to feel this. It's part of my growth. And in doing so, you'll begin to experience a more stable frequency, one that doesn't crumble the minute a rough day shows up. If you've made it this far, you're probably serious about real transformation. And guess what? I've got a special recommendation to help you dig even deeper. There's another video waiting for you, one that builds on this entire conversation and shows you how to apply these insights in your day-to-day life. Think of it as the next chapter in your spiritual journey. So don't leave yet. Click on the video on your screen right now, and let's continue expanding this perspective together. It's time to free yourself from the myth of 24/7 positivity and step into a more authentic, balanced, and genuinely high vibe existence. Remember, growth isn't about banishing the dark. It's about learning to shine even when the lights go out. I'll see you in the next video. Let's keep evolving one day and one vibe shift at a time.